Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. All right, guys, I'm excited to give you this video today. I've got a list of 5 elite sleepers. Now, I've been doing these underdog drafts, and I've been noticing these players like going in later rounds, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, do people not understand the ceiling that these guys possess? I mean, these guys seriously have, wide receiver one upside and running back one upside at their position if things go right for them this season, and you could get them with like the second to last pick or the last pick in a lot of underdog drafts. And when it comes to your everyday redraft leagues, these guys are going to be slipping because, people that don't pay enough attention, they're sleeping on these guys, right? So they're elite sleepers right now. Now, if you've been following my channel, I did a sleepers video about 3 weeks ago. So none of the players that I had on that list are going to be on this list because I don't want to be giving you all the same names. And, just with all these drafts I've been doing on underdog, I've just come up with a whole bunch of new sleepers for you guys that are going to be massive difference makers this year. So I'm going to start right here with the very first player on my list, and that's Nathaniel Dell. Now, I am pumped about Nathaniel Dell, firstly because, you could get this dude with, your second to last pick or sometimes your very last pick in underdog drafts. It's amazing to me the value you're getting in Nathaniel Dell. In a lot of redraft leagues, this dude's going to go undrafted, and he has the upside to be a low-end wide receiver one. I mean, somebody's going to step up in this Houston offense, right? It might be Nico Collins. It might be Nathaniel Dell. It might be Mechie. I doubt it's going to be Robert Woods because he's old, right? I think that Nathaniel Dell should be the number one breakout candidate for this offense. And if the team decides to not really necessarily spread the ball around and really hyper-focus on one wide receiver, Nathaniel Dell's going to be the guy. Because, you look at 2021, 22 in college, we've watched this dude break people's ankles for 2 years straight, 1,300 receiving yards in back-to-back seasons to close out his college career. He runs a 4.49 40, but he looks a lot faster than that on the field. If you watched him play in college, this dude is fast as lightning, even though his 40 time, doesn't necessarily suggest that. This dude is very fast on the field. He's an incredible, very crisp route runner. I mean, like I said, we watched him break people's ankles for 2 years straight. This is going to be the breakout wide receiver in the Houston offense. Now, will it happen in his rookie season? We don't necessarily know, okay? But I would say that if anyone's going to break out in this Houston offense and be a low-end wide receiver one, maybe high-end wide receiver two, it is absolutely Nathaniel Dell. So considering how late you can get him in drafts, he's a smash play for the very last rounds of the draft. Draft this dude. He has massive upside and could absolutely crush his ADP. Next player on my list is going to be Gus Edwards. Now, if you've been following my channel, you know that I'm recommending J.K. Dobbins as pretty much like the best mid-round running back, especially for underdog drafts right now because of the tremendously high ceiling. But with J.K. Dobbins, we have two things going on, right? We first know that he's very injury prone, okay? So although I love the ceiling, there's certainly some risk. As I've conveyed, when talking about drafting him. But also now, it looks like he's holding out. He's not satisfied with his contract. He wants more money. So there's all kinds of things going on with J.K. Dobbins right now that could lead to him not playing a full season. So when you get Gus Edwards late in the draft, you could get a guy that ends up being a running back one. Because if you look at Gus Edwards' efficiency in his career, he has not had one season where he's had less than 5 yards a carry. This dude in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2022, 4 seasons. We have a 4-season sample size. This dude has averaged more than 5 yards a carry every single season he's been in the NFL. So when he does get his opportunities, he is tremendously effective. J.K. Dobbins could either miss time due to the contract situation. He could come into the training camp late and be a step behind. There's, the injury risks. There are definitely multiple risk variables with J.K. Dobbins. So Gus Edwards is a smash play for the later rounds. If you take J.K. Dobbins and you cuff him with Gus Edwards, that's a great play. I love both running backs in drafts right now based on their value. And if you decide that you're going to pass on J.K. Dobbins, I don't recommend it. But if you decide that you're going to pass on J.K. Dobbins and just take Gus Edwards, this is a decent play as well because he could end up being the running back one if J.K. Dobbins holds out or gets injured. Next player on my list is going to be Russell Wilson. Now, this is a guy that when you think of last season, you think, this is the worst I've ever seen Russell Wilson look. I can't believe how bad the Denver's offense was considering how promising they were going into the season. And you look at how bad they were compared to expectations, and Russell Wilson still had 3,500 plus passing yards. 3,524 passing yards for Russell Wilson. This was 13th in the NFL. So he was top 13 in the NFL in passing yards, despite being as bad as he possibly could have been. So I have very good reason to believe that there's no way he won't be top 10 in the league in passing yards this year. And the offense ran at a very good pace of play. They were 9th in the league at pace of play, giving their fantasy weapons all kinds of opportunities. Now you insert Sean Payton. The coaching change is going to be a huge factor. We know that coaching was the biggest problem on the team last year. Now you insert one of the better coaches in the league. This is going to be very good for Russell Wilson. And you look at the deep ball attempts last year. He was first in the league in deep ball attempts with 87 deep ball attempts. And if you look at Russell Wilson between 2016 and 2022, this dude has been top 10 in the league in deep ball attempts every season since 2016. So we know that this dude's going to sling the rock down the field. We know that we have some really good deep ball pass catchers in Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick. They added Marvin Mims. We have Greg Dulcich, and there's so many good pass catchers on this team. Javonte Williams is all banged up. This is not going to be a run-first offense. They're going to be airing the ball out more than almost any team in the NFL. Russell Wilson's going to explode and bounce back massively. He's a huge sleeper right now with top 5 overall quarterback upside. Next player on my list is going to be Jalen Warren. Now, this is a guy who is significantly more explosive than the running back that's running in front of him. I mean, you look at Jalen Warren, 4.9 yards per carry last year, 12th in the NFL, 5.6 yards per touch, 11th in the NFL, 3.82 yards created per touch, 5th in the NFL. Yards created per touch are how many yards you average after bouncing off the first defender. So he was 5th in the league in this statistic, creating tons of yards all on his own. This is not only significantly more efficient than Najee Harris was last year, it is more efficient than Najee Harris will ever be in his career. So if Jalen Warren ends up splitting carries, if Jalen Warren doesn't end up splitting carries with Najee at some point this year and some sort of 50-50 split, I'd be surprised. Because you can look at Najee Harris's lack of efficiency since he's been in the league. In 2021, he led every running back in opportunity share, right? But 3.9 yards per carry, 53rd. 4.4 yards per carry, 41st. 2.72 yards created per touch, 24th. So the efficiency numbers were absolutely terrible in Najee's first year in the league, but that gets looked past because he had such a good season due to his volume. But you look at the opportunity share and what happened to it in 2022, 69.9% opportunity share in 2022, which was 10th in the NFL because Jalen Warren started to cut into his workload a little bit more. So he saw a 16% decrease in opportunity share. If that happens again this year, he's at the 50% mark, and these running backs are splitting carries. And considering how much more efficient Jalen Warren has been in his career in comparison to Najee, the coaching staff would be stupid not to split carries 50-50 down the middle. And, a lot of the split backfields, the running backs that are going to get a 50-50 split are going close to each other in drafts. These players are going 100 spots apart. So, if you're fading Najee Harris in early rounds, like I'm doing most of the time, I'm not saying I'm doing it every time. I'm drafting at least a little bit of Najee Harris, about, 6 to 8% Najee Harris, because, he certainly has the ceiling. But Jalen Warren is by far and away the better pick. It's a more profitable play to fade Najee Harris early in drafts and draft a significantly more explosive Jalen Warren, who could very well end up splitting carries with Najee this season and potentially even getting more fantasy points. That possibility is there. This guy's an awesome sleeper. Next and final player on my list is going to be Dalton Kincaid. I mean, you look at this dude's last 2 college seasons, 36 receptions, 510 receiving yards, and then in 2022, 70 receptions, 890 receiving yards. He started to be force-fed in his offense. We saw what an elite pass-catching tight end this guy can be. And, you look at this guy's potential, 6'4", 250 pounds. He put up elite efficiency numbers against man coverage last year. He was one of the best tight ends in the NCAA against man coverage. He's a great route runner. He's fast. He's got great run after the catch abilities. And, we know that he can high point the football, make contested catches, and he could draw heavy red zone target volume. And look, he's playing in the Buffalo Bills offense. If he takes over the tight end 1 role from Dawson Knox, which I'm very certain he's going to do, he's just going to become by far and away the most targeted tight end in this offense. He's going to have some insane upside. I mean, literally top 3 tight end overall upside. And you could get this guy in the later rounds of the draft because everyone's sleeping on him because he's a rookie and because I haven't seen him do anything in the NFL yet. Guys, take advantage of this. This dude has massive upside at the tight end position. If he ended up being a top 3 tight end overall in fantasy, I wouldn't be surprised. That upside is certainly there with his talent in the Buffalo Bills offense. So I love him as a sleeper this year. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning into the video, and I'll catch you later.